Thanks to first-hand accounts, this program tells the story of women who were part of Italy's Camorra Mafia. Some chose to collaborate and are now protected in secret locations. Other women opted not to collaborate with the state and are currently serving their full sentences in jail.
He literally won me over. I really fell in love. He could make me laugh like no one else could. But I had stopped laughing anyway. That day, they had agreed to meet. Nico had trusted them. There are too many things I regret. I'd love to think that I've changed and that I've become a different person. I miss Naples. I miss it a lot. I miss the smell of Naples. I miss the sea.
Giulia was born in 1968 in the heart of Naples, in the Forcella district.
I remember the dark alleyways. I remember the sun coming through at a certain time of the day.
Giulia's fate had been determined by the fact that she'd been born in Forcella. Had she been born in a different neighborhood, it would have turned out differently.
Giulia witnessed the first murder when she was only a child.
The shootings were part of our childhood. Come on, hurry, let's go. They shot this guy. Let's go take a look. And then we ran.
In the 1980s, a Camorra war was going on in Naples, and in the course of just 5 years, 1,500 people were killed.
It was normal for us to go and see who had been killed. I mean, there were these guys walking around with pistols, with machine guns. Did you see how cool it looked? Did you see how big that gun was? This guy shoots better than that guy.
Giulia's best friend Gemma was no ordinary child. She was Lovigno Giuliano's daughter, a man who also went by the name of Re, the king.
Lovigno Giuliano, or Ore, was the head of the leading Camorra family in Forcella.
Lovigno was a child of the post-war period, the time when the Americans were still around. He was a beautiful child, and everyone called him Amore, Lovigi, Lovigino.
When Naples won its first soccer championship, he stood on his balcony in Forcella and tossed money out onto the street, where the clan members picked it up. He threw 50,000 lira bills. It sounds like a joke, but it's true. The clan members picked them up, brought them back up, and he tossed them again. Champagne and money all night long, as if he were the king of Naples.
Thanks to her friend, Giulia entered the heart of the Camorra through the front door. A very memorable introduction.
Gemma's house was beautiful. The inside of her house was really amazing. I felt lucky to be in such an environment, with the Giuliano family, a wealthy family, who had plenty of beautiful things, plenty of everything.
What's your name?
Giulia.
The territory of Forcella has always been at the center of the organized crime's interest.
The most lucrative activities of the Giuliano clan were protection racket, illegal lottery, and soccer betting, cigarette smuggling, extortions, and mainly, of course, drug trafficking.
Especially in the 80s, Forcella witnessed a heroin boom. The neighborhood was crowded with drug addicts, who we kids called zombies. You literally stepped on syringes.
Forcella was the gathering point for those who wanted to buy heroin, and you saw these lines of young wobbly addicts who came to buy heroin. It often happened that some of them died in the streets and were left there for some time.
So many times I saw junkies who never got up again. So many times I saw their mums crying for them. But for us, that was normality.
The years went by. Giulia became a teenager and encountered love.
For the first time, I felt a strong attraction for a young man. Every moment I spent with him was wonderful. My heart was beating fast. I had this strong desire to see him all the time.
Giulia fell in love with Mario and married him shortly after. But Mario was hiding a dark side of himself. He was a cocaine and heroin dealer, but that wasn't all.
He took everything from the house and sold it. A TV set, a bottle of whiskey, just to buy his drugs.
Mario is a weak and troublesome guy, capable of dragging Giulia into a dark spiral of no return.
But then something happened, which even I could never have imagined. In less than a year, I became pregnant with my first daughter. I was frightened. I was worried. He was high. I turned around and I realized that Mario had fallen asleep. I didn't even have time to scream.
Giulia and Mario made a narrow escape, but the accident was serious, especially for a woman toward the end of a pregnancy.
Shortly afterwards, Angela was born. At first, no one seemed to realise the serious brain damage that led to encephalopathy. Mario denied the obvious. To him, she was a healthy little girl. She was a normal baby.
Giulia's problems with Mario were only just starting. Because in addition to being an addict, Mario was a possessive, quick-tempered and violent man.
He used to take me to secluded places where there was nothing, no one, only darkness, total darkness. He used to leave me lying on the ground after beating me up.
More and more, Mario turned into a monster, and Giulia became his victim. He used her brutally to give vent to his frustrations caused by his misery and failure.
I remember one day Angela was crying, and Mario didn't want to hear her crying. I felt my bones crushing because he wouldn't stop, and I held Angela in my arms to protect her from his fit of rage. Well, he just left me lying there, like a pile of bones that somehow had to recover. But I just had to get up from that floor. Because of Angela, because Angela needed me. When he left, he always remembered to lock the door. He used that padlock. He used the padlock, not just because he feared I might get fed up and run away. No one was allowed to enter.
Her marriage with Mario had become a cage for Giulia, from which there seemed to be no escape. When the police found a significant amount of drugs in their home, Mario blamed it on Giulia so he wouldn't have to go to jail. He said he was just a poor junkie, while she was the drug dealer. That's how Giulia went behind bars for the first time.
I went to jail, and finally, for the first time, I felt free. As if all the doors to the world stood open before me. It was amazing. I went to jail, and I felt free. After about 20 days, I was released. And I remember that day as a sad day. Giulia didn't want to get out of prison. Giulia was terrified of the outside world.
Giulia was granted a suspended sentence, but when she returned home, she found out that Mario had started another relationship. But this didn't estrange him, nor did it put an end to his lunacy. Convinced that Giulia had scratched his car out of jealousy, Mario threatened to kill her.
He called me on the phone, telling me he would soon be home to throw me off the balcony because I had scratched his car. I was terrified. I took every drug I had at home. Valium, barbiturates. I swallowed everything. I just wanted to die because I was crushed. I was a nobody.
Come persona non ero annientata, non ero più niente.
I woke up a week later from a coma.
Da un coma.
And shortly afterwards, I was pregnant again with my second daughter. And it was another very complicated pregnancy.
Vissuta male.
The police finally arrested Mario, catching him in the act and arresting him for drug dealing. For Giulia, this was an opportunity she couldn't miss out on.
I took my daughters and ran away. I opened that door. I gathered my courage to open the door and say, enough is enough. I remember I didn't even take a diaper with me.
Giulia runs away and regains her freedom, but she doesn't know who to turn to. She has to support her daughters, and the only thing she ever learned is how to deal drugs.
At that moment, I took the reins in my own hands. I took over some of his customers, the rich kids from Avellino, and I replaced him. I sold drugs, cocaine and heroin.
Her drug den was her own house. There were so many houses like that in the alleyways of Forcella. The situation hasn't changed much. That's how the narcotics are sold, even today.
I chose very few people, because otherwise the Mafia would have taken notice of me.
Whoever wanted to deal drugs needed a small drug den. In addition to having to buy the drugs off the Camorra, they also had to pay an extortion fee.
Un'estorsione, tipo 500 attualmente 500 euro a settimana.
I was definitely more reliable and cut out for business than Mario was, and my drug den had become quite thriving. However, I started receiving Mario's prison letters, threatening to kill me. So at that point, I had to get organized. I was going to kill him. How bad could it get? 10 years of prison at the most.
Soon enough, Giulia received the official news. Mario had been released from prison.
At that point, I turned to the Giuliano family. I told them I'd never talked to the police, that they were in charge of the neighborhood, and that they just had to help me. You have to help me, because if you don't, I'll kill him, and all hell will break loose. And he said, I'm going to give you a house where you definitely won't be needing anything. You'll even find perfumes there. You just have to stay there quietly, and I'll take care of everything.
The Giuliano family offered her to become a mistress, but she refused. No one really seemed to be willing to help and protect her. But on that same day,
I opened the door to my house and I was suddenly assaulted from behind. I felt like I was back in a nightmare. He grabbed my hair and started cutting it with his knife. I could see my hair falling to the ground. And while he cut my hair, he kicked me. I just wanted to kill him, that's all.
Giulia fired 3 times, but only 1 bullet hit the target, injuring Mario in the leg. Then the gun got jammed and Mario managed to escape. But the Camorra doesn't like shootings because they draw the attention of the police and damage their business.
Pasquale Avagliano took over. Pasquale Avagliano was the son of Giuseppe Omagazzese, an infamous smuggler. He wasn't just doing business in Forcella, he worked throughout Naples. He was the undisputed king of smuggling.
Pasquale Avagliano was a dreaded member of the so-called hit squads. A clan can only maintain its power if it has a certain number of young people at its disposal who are capable of being part of the hit squads, who are willing to kill. Otherwise, the power of a Camorra group immediately falls to pieces.
If you need anything, ask him. He's in charge.
Pasquale Avagliano was indeed able to protect Giulia, and he did so by choosing one of his guys, Nico, to look after her.
He used to honk the horn of his motorbike under my balcony and asked if everything was okay, or how I was doing. After a while, I could tell he liked me. He was somehow attracted to me.
For Giulia, it was love at first sight with Nico. After 9 horrible years with Mario, she finally enjoyed some happiness.
He was nice and always fast to crack a joke. He made me laugh like no one else did, even if I had stopped laughing, smiling altogether. He won me over. I really fell in love.
But Nico, along with his close friend Fabio Rizzo, is one of the young recruits of Raffaele Giuliano's clan.
Being with them opened every door. I felt important.
Giulia did not come from a Camorra family. She was the daughter of a city clerk. But of course, like all the other youngsters in the neighborhood, she was fascinated by the Camorra families and their sons, because they had a lot of money and because they held absolute power in the neighborhood.
Nico is neck deep into the system.
The more time he spent with Raffaele Giuliano, the more Nico became a different person, because to him, Raffaele Giuliano was almighty.
Raffaele Giuliano became the point of reference for many 20-year-olds. Those overambitious youngsters of Forcella who wanted to rush into things and saw Raffaele as their leader.
They were basically in charge of everything. If they went to the grocery store, the owner would never take their money. Nowadays, things have changed a little, but in the 80s and 90s, nothing at all would happen in the Forcella district without the Giuliano family's approval.
I went to Michele Mazzarella's house very often. That's where they bought all the drugs they needed for their business. tons of drugs.
Michele Mazzarella started coming to the Forcella district when he started a relationship with Luigino Giuliano's daughter, whom he eventually married.
Lovigino told us that after the wedding, the parties signed a written agreement which accurately shared the interests and businesses between the two families.
When he moved to Forcella, Michele Mazzarella took up business with Raffaele Giuliano's clan. Raffaele Giuliano started buying drugs from the Mazzarella brothers, which he then sold in Forcella.
Nico and the other guys organized the mixing and the selling of the drugs, which took place in the dens.
Nico did whatever Raffaele Giuliano asked him to do. Buy drugs, hide them, sell them. He threatened people, shot them in the legs, and even killed them. He was part of Raffaele Giuliano's hit group now.
Their most appalling deed was the murder of Ennio Arcella. It marked a turning point in Forcella's history. On December 16, 1996, two men on motorcycles encircled him and killed him. His car crashed at the feet of the stairs in front of the National Museum.
A true guapo kills anyone he's ordered to kill, and that's exactly how you earn the boss's approval.
As a reward for his loyalty towards the clan, Nico was given the opportunity to run his own drug den. A well-protected dealing business, which didn't attract the attention of the police, and which allowed him to make up to 10,000 euros a week.
That's a lot of money, and it's easy money. But it didn't last for long, because at the end of the 90s, a war causing dozens of deaths broke out in Naples.
A war broke out in Forcella. A war between the clans of Michele Mazzarella and Giuliano, who in the meantime had formed an alliance with the Secondigliano clan. It was all about the control over the illicit drug trafficking, control over the drug dens of Forcella. It involved ambushes, murders, and all sorts of intimidating acts.
Raffaele Giuliano was a madman.
He liked to stare at the sun. He used to stare at it for a long time to challenge it, to see who would look away first.
He got up in the morning with the idea that someone had to die, and that had to happen. It might have been just a small dealer who was selling drugs for the Mazzarella clan. That was a good enough reason to get killed.
Initially, Raffaele Giuliano bought drugs from Michele Mazzarella, his niece's husband. Then he broke away from all kinships and commercial agreements, and Michele Mazzarella became the enemy in his fight for supremacy. In the struggle for power, The Camorra pays no heed to nothing. The alliances didn't last, and one dead among the members of the Mozzarella clan immediately called for another dead among the members of the Giuliano clan.
I grew very worried about Nico. I was afraid that he would be arrested sooner or later and would never get out of jail. Or even worse, that he would die. Because what you sow is what you reap, right?
It's February 14th, 1998, Valentine's Day. Nico and his friends are hiding in Giulia's house. It has become their headquarters. From there, they head off on their armed missions, their ambushes, and their killings.
I was hanging out the laundry, and suddenly the bell rang. I heard a shot, and it pissed me off, because I couldn't allow such a thing in my house. I went towards my bedroom, and I found them all looking shocked. I turned around. Raffaele was very dear to me and to Nico. He had been like a brother. And he died right there in my bedroom, in my arms.
Nico had accidentally fired a shot with his .357 Magnum and hit Raffaele di Napoli in the head. They'd been friends forever, and ever since they were kids, he had been like a brother to Giulia.
The accidental death of Di Napoli exemplifies the relationship the people in this social environment had towards death. It wasn't a remote eventuality. Death was always present and possible to occur. It was the price they paid for the power they held and the easy money they made.
Raffaele's murder would surely lead to police investigations. Nico can no longer stay in Naples. He's forced to flee, first to Brazil and then to Montenegro.
A few days later, I gave birth to my son, Francesco, and I found myself alone with 3 children because my husband was on the run. I had no choice but to return to drug dealing. But after a short while, the Camorra guys came by. The exact same people who had claimed to be my brothers.
You can't sell dope anymore.
From that day on, I wasn't allowed to sell anything anymore, not even an ounce of dope. Those were Raffaele's orders.
Giulia was also selling drugs to support Nico while he was gone. The Camorra guys, Raffaele Giuliano's men, ordered her to stop because they wanted Nico to return to Naples and resume working for them. But Giulia didn't stop, not even after the Giuliano clan had intimidated her. She continued selling dope to make her living, at least until February 24th, 1999.
That night, the police came to my house with an arrest warrant, repealing my suspended sentence. This time, I went to jail, well aware that on my return, none of what I had would still be there.
And while Giulia was in prison, things got increasingly worse for the Giuliano clan, and Nico was forced to come back.
In February 1999, Raffaele Giuliano was arrested, and later Guglielmo Giuliano as well. Fabio Riso and Pasquale Avagliano, two other members of Raffaele Giuliano's clan, were hiding in Montenegro. The only one who would in fact be able to keep the Giuliano clan under his control was Nico. He was the only one who could possibly oppose the rise of Michele Mazzarella.
One ordinary morning, I got up to have a shower. While I was in the shower, my cellmate came along and asked me awkwardly if everything was all right. I realized she knew something I didn't. I asked her, did something happen to Nico? She said yes. So I asked her, is he dead? And she said yes. That day, he was waiting to collect the proceeds of the protection money of the Maddalena market stalls. Nico trusted them. After a while, they arrived on their motorbikes. Michele Mazzarella got off his motorbike and shot him dead.
When Giulia was released from jail, she was a lonely woman, a widowed mother of 3 children, and everything around her was changing.
Everything in the Mafia was changing for the worse.
The end of the Giuliano clan was marked by a series of arrests. First, Luigi was arrested, later Raffaele and Guglielmo Giuliano. All the major leaders of this specific Camorra organization followed. Of course, many of them became informers after their arrests. The first one to surrender was Raffaele Giuliano. That says a lot about his weak personality and his psychological disposition.
All these arrests and the resulting cooperation inevitably brought the Giuliano clan down.
No one was in charge at that time. It was everyone against everyone. People were killing each other. No matter if it was their own uncle, brother-in-law or cousin. Chaos ruled.
The long-standing rival of the Giuliano clan, the Mozzarella clan, tried to take advantage of the chaos.
I started to experience the first, let's say, repercussions against my family and myself.
Anche nei confronti miei e della mia famiglia.
I was alone, with my children, with a wrecked clan. I was even afraid to send the children to school.
Giulia was facing the threat of death. She knew that if she didn't leave, it would soon be the end. But running away with 3 children, one of them seriously handicapped, was impossible. There was only one way out, although for someone like Giulia, who spent most of her life inside the Mafia culture, it was not an easy step to take.
On the one hand, she couldn't stay in Forcella because she was constantly threatened. On the other hand, she didn't have a job and no financial support.
I was at my wit's end. I was already convinced that I wanted to set myself free from all of this unease, from this nightmare, from this huge load that was choking me.
Da questo carico enorme che mi soffocava.
Giulia decided to collaborate and became an informer for the prosecutors, subjecting her whole family and herself to the protection program.
When Giulia chose to cooperate, she was worried about her large extended family. She worried whether they would follow her choice, move away from the city, and join the protection program.
I wasn't just making a decision for my children, myself, but for the whole family. I had 6 brothers. So the responsibility was enormous. I left the prosecutor's office in Naples feeling incredibly light. I almost wanted to stay there. I had a huge desire to run away, to free myself from all the burden, from all the suffering that had built up inside me and wouldn't let go of me.
Che avevo accumulato dentro, che mi portavo addosso come un macigno. E poi
And I wanted to save my children. I didn't want them to experience any of the things I had experienced.
Una virgola di quello che avevo vissuto io.
Through her confessions, Giulia helped dismantle Naples' downtown drug trafficking and dealing network. The police carried out a series of raids, which helped to limit the number of deaths caused by this umpteenth Camorra War.
Giulia's cooperation was genuine, and for us it was highly satisfactory to see that she had managed to fulfill her dream. She had changed her life, had succeeded in making a new life for herself, and was offering her children who had joined her a bright future.
I can say it now. Every day I wake up, I put my feet on the ground, and I feel I'm a lucky person. A person who has been offered a second chance. I got this second chance, and I seized it.
La soddisfazione più grande di
My greatest satisfaction is to be able to raise my children the right way, hoping that time will one day make them forget the few things they still remember.
Quelle poche cose che potevano ricordare.
It's nice to think that they can have a simple and decent future.
Possono avere un futuro semplicemente pulito.
Giulia was arrested 11 times for possession of drugs and drug trafficking. She spent 10 years in prison. She's currently in the Witness Protection Program and lives in an undisclosed location. She never went back to Naples. To protect the protagonist's life, the names of some characters have been changed and their roles were played by actors.